Oh, well, hello there. Welcome back to Desire Dialogues, my friends. So, this is another episode of our Sex Ed for Adults series, and why pleasure isn't selfish is our topic today. And I get it, right? It sounds pretty simple, but for a lot of people, it feels deeply uncomfortable. When we were taught sex ed, if you even were, it was mostly reproductive, preventative, abstinent based, and STD and pregnancy scares. But they did not really touch upon pleasure. They did not touch upon, the full anatomy and the pleasure centers and techniques and orgasms, not sex toys. And if I asked you, what do you enjoy? Could you answer that immediately? Or would your mind go blank? Would you feel awkward? Maybe even a little guilty? Maybe a bit self-conscious? Because here's something I see all the time. People who have spent their entire lives being expert on everybody else's needs have no idea how to answer, what do I want? And honestly, it's because most of us were taught far more about being good than we were taught about feeling good. Many of us grew up receiving messages like, put others first, don't ask for too much, don't be demanding, don't be difficult, don't make it all about you. And those messages don't really magically disappear when intimacy enters the picture of your life, right? So instead, it often sounds like whatever you want is fine. Oh, I don't really need anything. I'm just happy they're happy. I don't want to be high maintenance. It's not that important. And over time, we become so focused on being accommodating that we slowly lose touch with ourselves. Does that sound familiar? So, why pleasure feels so uncomfortable? Have you ever noticed that receiving can feel a whole lot harder than giving? Because giving feels productive, right? Giving feels safe. Giving gives you something to do. But when it comes to receiving, that requires a little bit more vulnerability. It requires some trust. It requires allowing. And it also requires slowing down. And for the people who are used to taking care of everyone else, it feels a bit different and maybe a bit scary, right? Nobody's going to hand you a medal for self-abandonment, my friends. All right, what if we think about it like this, right? Imagine inviting someone over for dinner. And then every time you asked whatever, what they wanted, they said, whatever you want. Would you like something to drink? Whatever you want. Would you like apple pie or would you like tiramisu for dessert? Whatever you want. What kind of music do you want in the background? Whatever you want. Eventually, you'd probably think, I want to know what you like, right? Not what I want to give you. Because connection isn't built through disappearing, right? It builds up when we show up. And intimacy is going to, work the same way. There's no trophies for never asking, for never taking up space, for never expressing desire, for never asking. And that's the thing. It's there is a hidden cost for being, selflessness, right? Not selfish, but selflessness. Complete opposite. Resentment is going to often grow when our needs go unspoken. And over time, a lot of people are going to start feeling unseen, a little bored, a little disconnected, not heard. Not because they're bad partners, but because they've become really good at managing everyone else's experiences and really disconnected from their own. But eventually, selflessness without self-awareness becomes self-erasure. That's a very lonely place to live, my friends. Another thing, too, is pleasure is information, right? We often think of pleasure as frivolous, it's extra. Maybe if I have time. But pleasure is feedback. It's going to tell us what feels good, what brings us alive, what matters to us, what creates connection. Pleasure is information, and information isn't selfish. It's really useful. So, you matter too. Like, all right, imagine trying to build a friendship with someone who never shares anything about themselves. No opinions, no preferences, no dreams, no favorite foods, no favorite songs, no requests, right? Eventually you'd feel like you know nothing about them because technically you wouldn't. Intimacy requires being known, and it's going to require those things. What are your preferences? And being known means allowing yourself to exist inside the relationship too. Not just being in it, not just managing it, not worrying about them. Just them, right? So why this matters sexually? This is something I wish a lot more people understood, right? A lot more sexual beings in the adult chapters of their lives, right? Pleasure isn't something you earn after everyone else is taken care of. Your needs aren't competing with your partner's. Healthy intimacy isn't about one person disappearing so the other can fucking thrive. It's mutual, right? It's mutuality. And people often assume that when they ask for pleasure, it's selfish. But, like, what if the opposite is true? What if inviting someone into what feels good for you, is what's going to create closeness, intimacy, honesty? Because being known is vulnerable. And vulnerability is where intimacy lives. So start small. I mean, you don't have to become wildly expressive overnight. It's not about suddenly having all the answers here. It really isn't. Let's get curious, right? So maybe it starts with noticing what you enjoy, saying out loud what you like. Maybe you just ask for like a small adjustment next time. Maybe you lean back from worrying about how it feels for them and giving and letting yourself receive. Pleasure isn't a destination, right? It's a relationship. And like every relationship, it grows through attention, through tending, through curiosity. So if no one's ever told you before, let me be the one. Pleasure is not selfish. Wanting things is not selfish. Having needs is not selfish. Taking up space is not selfish. You don't have to disappear to deserve love. And you don't have to abandon yourself to be a good partner. Because you were never meant to simply tolerate. You were meant to participate in life. And that includes pleasure. All right, my friends, remember, your body isn't broken, your questions aren't weird, and you're definitely not the only one wondering these things. Because most of us never receive sex education for adulthood. So, until next time, stay curious. Pleasure's your birthright. And if you've ever found yourself asking, like, why is my desire so, like, hard to pin down sometimes? Like, kind of hard to understand, kind of ebbs and flows, it comes and goes. Your goal isn't really to force yourself to be different or to experience desire like you used to. It evolves. So if you want to become more curious about how your desire works, you can find the link in the show notes. It's a freebie. I got you. And until next time, stay compassionate with yourself. All right? You are not selfish. But maybe you should start being a little bit more selfish. Here is your invitation.